Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's session. Today's session is part of a MIA series where we are talking to different experts from the Azure community across the region and learn from them about various topics. And in today's session, we're having an introductory part on how we can use Microsoft ASP.NET Blazor to understand all the concepts and fundamentals to help us build rich and interactive web UI experiences. So today's session is a part of this series, but also it's not just a one-off. We will have more sessions hopefully in the near future around the same topic. So make sure that you are part of the community and you're always checking the calendar for all the exciting topics and sessions that we are having. Microsoft Reactors, as you know, are hubs around the world where founders and developers come to meet and learn and connect to local peers and learn from the industry experts, from Microsoft team and advocates, and also the open source community and its advocates. And I have the pleasure of leading the Reactor here in this region, in the MIA, where it is physically located in Abu Dhabi, but with all the online sessions that we're doing, this is all available to you online, so you can tune and join us from any part of this region and benefit from the live sessions. The sessions are not only live, they can be accessible also on our YouTube channel, so you can view them and watch them anytime you wish later on. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you're following also all the playlists, let's say, that are around certain topics. So this is also an important part where you can explore other sessions that happened in other reactors. And in today's session, we're hosting Anwar, who's a manager for IT application and support at Boubyan Bank in Kuwait. He's an active speaker and a contributor to the tech community across the region as well, and in Kuwait, and he's working on a daily basis with different application developers and software vendors around the globe. And today we're hosting him to learn more about the topic, and also we will be excited to have you in the future for more. I think I would just like to remind everyone again that the Reactor check-in page, you can find the link in the chat, is the place where you can access the event resources. That's first of all. And second, the survey, which we are doing to understand more about the topics that you would love to see us program in the future. So this is a very important thing for us to know from you what you would like to see in the future. Please take a moment to check in, first of all, and then second, after today's session, provide us feedback on today's session and also comments on what topic you would love to see in the future. If you check in, you will get something that looks like this one. This is from the last session. You will get, as I said, the event resources and then the link to the survey to do it after the session. Quick reminder about the code of conduct. We're coming from different parts of the world with different backgrounds, and we're all here to learn. So let's keep that in mind. Be aware of others, friendly and patient at all time, welcoming and respectful, and open to all viewpoints and questions. We need to be also understanding of each other's differences and kind and considerate to others at all time. During today's session, you can use the meeting chat to ask questions, but then also towards the end, I would love you, if you prefer, to go off mute and then ask questions. All you need to do is send this information on the chat. Send me that you would like to go off mute and ask the questions, and I'll enable that feature for you, but we can do that only towards the end. During the session, just ask us the questions in the meeting chat. That's pretty much all. Thank you, Anwar, for joining us, and we're excited to have you here.
Thank you, Hussam. Thank you for the introduction, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the session. And let me, share the screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, all good. We can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, about myself, I'm Anwar Sayeed, working in Boubyan Bank, Kuwait as manager, IT application development and support, and working with the Boubyan Bank in the last 15 years. And I do continuously interact with developers, software technology vendors, and the domain experts around the world. I used to speak regional conferences and techno-social gatherings. Today, regarding our topic today is Microsoft ASP.NET Core Blazor, developing rich interactive web UI or web application by using C# instead of JavaScript. So our today's agenda is brief history of ASP and ASP.NET. First of all, this is going to be an introductory session. We will just go through what Blazor is, how Blazor evolved, what are the advantages and features of Blazor, and Blazor's hosting models, its comparisons, and a quick demo, a very basic demo by using the default project templates provided by Microsoft. We are planning to conduct further demos, further sessions actually, which will be more into the coding and developing, hands-on sessions. We are planning to do a session on CRUD, how to do web application by using creating, retrieving, updating, and deleting data-related applications. Another one, Signalar related application, how to utilize Signalar and Blazor to create real-time connected interactive applications, like a chat application, for example. Another one, the latest one, the Microsoft multi-user interface option MOI. This also we are planning to do sessions related to that. Blazor plus MOI. So, we would like to make the session interactive. If you have anything to ask or anything to add or comment, I would prefer to add it to come forward and put your comments or questions on the chat. And at the end, we will have a question and answer session, which we would like to be, like by using your mic also, or whoever prefer to use the text, they can do that also. Let's start. This is, okay. Let's just quickly go through the history of ASP and ASP.NET. I hope most of you know about this. I just would like to go through before we reach into the Blazor part. We know ASP, Microsoft ASP Active Server Pages. It was released in November 1996. At that time, a Common Gateway Interface, CGI, and Perl were very famous, popular for the dynamic web application development. We know before that there was, like websites were totally static, and the content was fully dependent on static HTML content. Then we reached into the dynamic content, and CGI and Perl into that domain. ASP entered, and there are, let's say, 4 major reasons where ASP got acceptance in the developers community. Let's say the first one is ease of data access through Microsoft ActiveX data objects. Through the ADO, accessing the data on the web application was like made much simpler. And ease of page design. like before, for the form-based application, WinForms-based application, how do we develop the same concept actually brought into web development also? And COM-based interoperability. The fourth one is relatively flat learning time curve. Learning curve was flattened because for web development, because by using ASP, you were able to use the same development experience which you have by using the Visual Basic. So this was the starting point. At that time, it was active server pages, let's say ASP. Then at the, let's say in 2002, when Microsoft introduced .NET Framework 1.0 and Visual Studio .NET, then ASP.NET also got introduced. ASP.NET was built on the common language runtime, and the advantage of CLR was inbuilt with ASP.NET. And an important feature, we were able to write ASP.NET code by using any supported .NET languages, like either by C#, which was the new language introduced by Microsoft at that time, or the existing Visual Basic, .NET version of Visual Basic, which was Visual Basic.NET. So we were having the flexibility to use either C# or VB.NET or even F#. And it was open source, and at that time itself, it was a new step towards the open source implementation. And ease of data access. Before, Microsoft provided through ASP, Microsoft provided ease of data access through ADO, but when ASP.NET was introduced, the ease of data access actually went ahead, and by using the language integrated query, or even by the next level by using entity framework. ASP.NET went through from version 1.0 to 5.0 release candidate 1. There were 1.0, 2.0, and 3, and continuous evolving. Continuously it was evolving until the 5.0. 5.0 release candidate, then it stopped and it's transformed to ASP.NET Core. Any questions before we go to ASP.NET Core? Hussam, when I present, I think I am unable to see any comments. If there is anything or any questions, I would like, please let me know.
Sure, no worries, no worries.
Yeah. Okay, now from ASP.NET, it again evolved to ASP.NET Core. Somebody is requesting control, maybe to ask anything, or okay.
I mean, we can leave the
the comments and the messages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, only messages for now. Towards the end, we can enable the mics. Yeah.
Yes. So ASP.NET Core was first released in 2015. ASP.NET was again, it take us into more advanced versions and cross-platform, completely cross-platform. ASP.NET actually free and open source and modular framework that runs on both normal .NET framework and on Windows, and moreover on cross-platform .NET anywhere, like Mac or Linux or wherever. So by using the core .NET Core concept, which the .NET entire .NET frameworks included into the core component, which will be running wherever you keep it, wherever you place it. So ASP.NET was an implementation on top of the .NET Core. But later on, from version 3, .NET Core dropped the support for, ASP.NET was not supported on .NET framework. So we have the version from 1.0 to the 6th version, which is the latest one. .NET Core 1 to 6. The key advantages of .NET Core. It is a complete rewrite of .NET framework. The .NET framework was evolved gradually and at a point of time for the benefit of cross-platform implementation. Just Microsoft didn't just convert it into a cross-platform implementation model, but instead of that, Microsoft decided to completely rewrite the .NET framework, and that's how we have at ASP.NET Core, which is a fresh and new and completely rewritten implementation of the previous .NET framework. The previously we were having, when we were using ASP.NET, we were having ASP.NET Web Forms and ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Web API variants. By using ASP.NET Core, you can create an application having the functionality of ASP.NET Web API, ASP.NET MVC on the same project or on the same application. So it united both the streams, ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Web API, into a one and single one. And ASP.NET Core provided modular framework distributed NuGet package model. So it's a modular model, and you don't have to include everything. It's like whatever you need, you just get the NuGet package for that and put it into your project. So it's very compact and modular, and a cloud-ready environment-based configuration system. And moreover, it's a lightweight and modular HTTP request pipeline we have. Even the benefit of this modular and lightweight HTTP request pipeline is it is helping us even in the ASP.NET Core Blazor implementation, which is on top of the core ASP.NET Core, which we are coming into. ASP.NET Core helped us to build and run cross-platform ASP.NET Core apps on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And it's again open source and community focused. So these are the key advantages of ASP.NET Core if we describe in very high level. Okay, now let's move into the next one. Now let's look into ASP.NET Core Blazor, which is the subject of our sessions today, in detail. Okay. Now the question is, what is Blazor? We know what is ASP and ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core. Now, what is Blazor? Blazor is the new client-side UI framework, from the same ASP.NET team and ASP.NET Core team. What is the big selling point of Blazor? Why it is hot and why everybody is discussing about Blazor nowadays? Because of its ability to write rich web UI experience by using HTML, CSS, and C#, and without writing anything on JavaScript. We don't have to use JavaScript at all if you want to develop a completely interactive, rich, dynamic web application by using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Blazor. You only have to use HTML, CSS, and C#, both in client side and on server side. We will come to that in detail. Now the question, why should we use Blazor? Why should I move from other development frameworks into Blazor? What are the advantages, or what is the benefits of using Blazor? Let's go one by one. This is not the complete list. It's a generally very important points I just pointed out, noted down, and let's discuss those. There are more. So First of all, it allows us to use C# on both server side and client side. Before, how we were doing, we know. We were using the server side, and the server side development languages were like C#, either C# or let's say Java or CGI, whatever before. When you were using the C# on the server side, you had to use JavaScript on the client side for client functionality. Either you had to use JavaScript or you had to depend on JavaScript based frameworks like Angular or React, like that. So we were fully dependent on JavaScript. If you were not using JavaScript, you will not be able to provide an interactive website or interactive web application, for the client side. So this was the limitation, or this was the dependency, I would like to say. Now, we can use C# on both client side and server side. The benefit of using C# on client side, we are coming to that one in the next slide. So second point, we can run our application on any browser, including mobile one, leveraging the functionality and capability of the modern browsers, including the modern mobile browsers. And we are no longer dependent on the plugins, OCX controls, or Flash or Silverlight. If we go little behind, there is no dependability on the plugins. No more plugins are required because C# and .NET libraries itself is running on the browser. It allows us to create SPA and PWA. We know what SPA is, single page application, which will, provide the feeling to the end user like he is using a native application. Even though he is using a web application, it will give a feeling of, using a native application where there is no pages. There is no page loading, no page changes, single page, and the content and the data is just getting loaded in, whenever is required and on demand. Like the user will have a feeling like a single page native application. This is SPA, single page application. And what about PWA? Progressive web apps, PWA. It's the web application acts like a native application or a native mobile app. Even it acts like a mobile app within the mobile, and within desktop it acts like a native desktop app. So you can install it on your desktop, you can install it on your mobile, and it allows even to receive the push notification, dynamic contents, everything, even when you are not using it. So whatever functionality you can expect from a native application, native mobile app or native desktop app, you can achieve those by using or by converting or opting Blazor WebAssembly application as a PWA. So you can leverage the functionality of progressive web app by using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Blazor. And the next one is you are getting near native performance on the browsers, even though it is running on the browser, because it downloads everything into the browser, even the runtime, and it runs especially when you use WebAssembly, Blazor WebAssembly, it actually runs on the browser, and it gives you near native performance on the browser. The next point is actually it allows you to leverage the existing .NET ecosystem and .NET libraries. So almost all the .NET libraries, it's available for you to use on your client side and on the server side. So it gives you full freedom or reusability of your own .NET libraries or third party or from the vendor .NET libraries, which you are used to or which you wish to use on a browser level client-side application. And it allows you to reuse your existing C# functions, classes or libraries, what you had written. Before it was not usable into web application, but now you can reuse it. Your own codes and snippets or whatever, you can reuse it on Blazor. And at the end, last not the least, benefit from .NET's performance, reliability, and security. So these are the core advantages, or the important points which we can say why should we use Blazor. Now the question is, why should we use C# or .NET Core instead of JavaScript on client side? What is the problem on using JavaScript? Why we are saying instead of JavaScript we can use C# on client side? What is the advantage? Why should I use it? This is an important question. First of all, especially if you are entering into the programming world, the programmers or the web developer don't have to he doesn't have to learn JavaScript and server-side development language like C# or Java or whatever. By learning and going through by using the C# itself, he can utilize his knowledge on C# on both server side and client side. So this is the first advantage. Otherwise, if you are going for C# and JavaScript, you should master both the frameworks or both the languages and its usages and its different implementations and different frameworks based on C# and based on JavaScripts. Here you can concentrate on C# and .NET and the implementations and components based on the C# and .NET. This is the first thing. Secondly, it's strongly typed. So when we use JavaScript, we can't catch the errors at compile time. We will be getting it only at runtime. Here, while you compile, at that time itself, we will come to know because it's strongly typed. And we know how useful it is when we actually write the code and develop the web application. Blazor is just a framework that runs on .NET Core runtime, so we can use any library compatible with the .NET standard. That means we can use our own or any public NuGet packages, which was available only for server side before, which is now available for client side and WebAssembly level. So this is why this is the importance of ability to use C# and .NET on client side also. Now the question is features of Blazor. I mean, the next point is features of Blazor. This one we have covered most of them. We'll just quickly go through. Model for building composable UI. Actually, it's a composite and component model. So you can create your UI in a modular manner. In the new versions, the .NET 6, it gives you live reloading in the browser during the development. So you are, the beauty of it, like, you have done the UI code and you have done even the, the application code, C# code, and you want to debug and you want to run the application. And at the same time, when the application is running, you can write or change the code and see how it is getting affected on the browser. Hot reload was there in Xamarin and all, it was there. And in the new version, .NET 6, it's available even for Blazor. So you can just make changes and see the effect immediately on the browser. So it helps you to reduce the time it takes to debug and test your applications. It uses the latest web features, and I mean, along with the advancement of the web and its features, Blazor is also getting advanced. So we will have the same functionality and features what the web platform is providing. We will be able to utilize it. And the most important point is dependency injection. We know what dependency injection is. It's not under the scope of this discussion to describe or discuss what dependency injection is, because it takes little bit more time and in-depth discussion to describe what dependency injection is. So if you are not aware, we will be covering it later on, or you can go ahead and understand it, because it's not possible to describe it in a shorter time or at this scope. Yeah, I mean, this allows you, Blazor allows you to run on old browsers, but there is a condition, or the WebAssembly may not run on all Blazors. We are coming into that in browsers. Okay, full .NET debug. Before, I told you we were not able to debug on our client-side development, client-side codes or whatever. We were not able to debug on it. Now you just use one single IDE. If you are using Visual Studio 2019, or if you are using Visual Studio Code, you will be able to debug both client side and server side. Let's say there is no difference now. Once Blazor is introduced, there is no difference on client side code and server side code. You are able to debug and fully test your application, make changes on the go by utilizing the Blazor's capability. And it forms as part of the open web platform. And I told you, we just described no plugins are required, and rich intelligence and tooling. Again, it was available, restrictively or limited on the server side. Now it's available throughout the web UI development framework. And server side rendering, this is for the server hosting model. We are coming into that. Okay. So we were discussing generally on ASP.NET Core Blazor. Okay. Now, when we consider Blazor, there are two major variants. Let's say there are two major hosting models. So we have to decide before we develop an application by using Blazor, we have to decide which one we should select and which model is most suitable for my requirement. So we'll just go through those hosting models. It is an important part, so it must be covered in the introductory session itself. There are two. The two variants are, one is WebAssembly and the other one is server hosting model. So WebAssembly, it runs on the client within the browser. Everything runs on the client. And you can see it downloads everything to the client, whatever is required, including the runtime, .NET runtime, your libraries, third-party libraries, even your C# code converted into WebAssembly bytecode, everything converted into WebAssembly bytecode and getting downloaded to the browser. As it is running from the browser, it has near native performance. It's not at all dependent on the server for any kind of rendering, any kind of IO related things. It's everything from the browser itself. So it gives you near native performance. And WebAssembly, it uses WebAssembly framework. It's not only Microsoft or Microsoft ASP.NET Core Blazor. It's a standard implemented on major browsers, especially on all modern browsers. So it leverages the WebAssembly functionality and features. And as it is running on the browser, everything getting downloaded. Once it is downloaded, we do not need the connectivity to the server. It can totally independently work offline on the browser. Even you can disconnect from the net. And if your application doesn't require any database connectivity or interactivity with any other servers or whatever, otherwise it can totally work offline on your browser. This is the key features of WebAssembly. Let's see what server hosting model give us. It's a server-side Blazor app. When we say server-side, it's not the classic server-side concept. It's actually a Blazor application running on the server and providing you the UI, rendered UI, to your browser through connected signaler methodology, connectivity. So it's actually running on the server, but from your browser, when you connect to that application, it gives you, okay, it renders the UI for you and provide that UI into the browser. But whatever happens, even client-side functionality or server-side functionality, everything happens on the server. And wherever the change, let's say the browser window, wherever the change, when we demonstrate the demo, I mean, we can explain it in more detail. Wherever the change, that part only getting re-rendered from the server to the client. So how it is happening? It is through signaler. We know what signaler is. It's an interesting and fantastic implementation which keeps you connected. What do we say? Bidirectional connectivity between the client and server. But signaler is not only useful for this purpose. Signaler implementation gives you different, a wide range of opportunity to create stunning and very interesting applications, connected applications. Like when we use, for example, when we use WhatsApp or any connected application, somebody is typing, even for when you use, let's say, Facebook, somebody is commenting, you're getting, okay, somebody is typing. And when the comment, you are getting the comment right away. It's not like your browser is, you're polling it or requesting each second and getting the content. No, it's not like that. It's actually pushing from the server. So previously, web applications were able to, pull only from the server whenever you need to get a new content, either through page reload or even by using Ajax. You had to communicate to the server and ask, hey, is there anything for me? And if it is there, then you were getting it. This was the concept. Now, no, the server is pushing to the connected clients. So Signaler is an interesting implementation. There are others, but from Microsoft, Signaler is an interesting implementation of this connectivity. And Signaler actually handles what kind of connectivity is best suitable for your network, your PC, your server, whatever. It uses WebSockets and other available options to connect for the connected device and the server. So it uses here in our server hosted model, Microsoft uses Signaler to render the change on the server UI. And I mean, the UI of your application, which is actually happening on the server, and transfers that change, only that change, through the Signaler connectivity to the browser window. So you will have a feeling like you are viewing a real-time application on the browser, but actually it happens on the server. UI rendered on the server, and the UI changes on the server updated through Signaler. And don't worry, it's a complex implementation, but you don't have to enter into that complexity. Microsoft ASP.NET Core Blazor does everything for you out of the box. It's available. It's readily available. You just have to utilize it. We will go through that in the demo. Now, a quick comparison on two hosting models. This will be the the last slides before we enter into the demo. So, what are the pros and cons? How can we compare both hosting models? Which one should we select? Which one should I go for? So it's a quick comparison. Let's take WebAssembly first. Advantages of WebAssembly is it will give you near native performance. We have covered it, how it can give you the near native performance. The app can work completely offline. If it is a WebAssembly, everything will be downloaded to the browser, and you don't need the server connectivity. You don't need the network after that. If it is a not a network dependent application, no server is needed, so you don't have to maintain a server for your application for your users to use your application. You don't have to maintain a server. Even for distribution, currently most WebAssembly implementation, we use a server just to distribute your components and your frameworks and all, just for the browsers to download. Even if you have a different distribution mechanism, you don't even need that server. So let's say conceptually, literally, you don't need a server at all for WebAssembly implementation. And again, no plugins are required. We have covered it. Run on all modern browsers, including the mobile browsers, and capability of developing SPAs and progressive web apps. There are downsides for these models. Each one will have advantages and disadvantages. So it's like it's totally dependent on server, so it's restricted to the capabilities of the browser. The key disadvantage I can say is like it is downloading everything to the browser, so the loading time is little bit longer, not only little bit, considerably longer when we compare with the server hosted model. But once it is downloaded, then it's there, and you don't have to wait that much time again when you start it. Especially if you are using the PWA option, progressive web app option, you can download your app as an application and install it. It will just take like seconds only to install on your browser or on your desktop or on your mobile. Then next time it will be starting like faster. But initially it takes, let's say, considerably longer, let's say, starting time. But as Blazor evolves from, let's say, .NET Core, ASP.NET Core Blazor 3, and when it reaches to 5, and now when it reaches to 6, considerable performance improvements are there, especially at the starting time. So it has improved a lot, and it is as per Microsoft, and it will be continuously getting improved, and we will not have considerable delay in the, even in the .NET 6 version. It is much faster, and in the coming future versions, it's gonna be a negligible one. Browser does all the works. That means client does all the works. So if your application is a feature-rich and processor-consuming application, of course, it may affect the performance based on the capability of your laptop or PC or mobile or whatever. The end users, browser and end users' machines capability will be affecting the performance of the application. When we consider detailed, downside of the WebAssembly, this comes. And another downside we have to consider is it works only with the modern browsers. Let's say if we try to run on Internet Explorer, WebAssembly will not work. Even with Internet Explorer 11, it will not be supported. It will be supported on, let's say, Edge and modern browsers. But everywhere, let's say we don't have to worry about it, because most of the machines, most of the users, they have already moved into the modern browsers like Microsoft Edge or latest versions of Chrome, or even mobile versions does not have an issue, because mobiles are recently, the browsers are upgraded, and we don't have an issue with the mobile browsers. There are some security concerns, but if you are concerned about it, and if you know the issues, you have option to protect it, because everything runs on browser, everything runs on client. So let's say the tokens or the certificates, the secrets are stored within the browser or within the machine. So you should be more careful when, if it is a secured application, if you are so much concerned about the, let's say, tokens or whatever storages you are using, whatever data you are storing on the on the machine. So you have to take care of that. But it's let's say you have to consider that one and protect your application. You should be concerned about it. Then the server model. When we discuss the server model, it comes actually, because when the server hosted model does not have this issue or does not have this concern actually. Okay, let's go to the server hosted model. And the advantages of server hosted model is less downloading and loads faster, because let's say it does not download at all, because everything is rendered on the server only, and the rendered one is just transformed to or transferred to the local browser. So we don't have to download the runtime. We don't have to download the other libraries. Nothing is getting downloaded. So it fast, like quickly and faster. Very good performance, because you will be able to utilize the performance of the whole server. But again, it depends on the network connectivity. It depends on the scalability of your server, how many people are connected. All these are dependent. It gives you very good performance if you have a very good network connectivity. Signal R connectivity is fine, and the performance of the server is fine, and you have enough resources on the server according to a number of connected clients or devices. There is no required WebAssembly support. It's not dependent on WebAssembly. So any browsers, let's say, not ancient browsers, but any browsers like Microsoft, Internet Explorer 11, 10, and all will be working with whichever supports Signal R will be okay. We don't have to depend on WebAssembly, so we will have more option to select from the browsers and their older versions. Keys and data secrets are it does not come to the to the browser at all. It does not come to the client PC, client mobile, or wherever. It does not reach to the it is safe on the server. It stays on the server, and that's why it is more safer to use. You don't have to worry about that security concerns. But still, there are downsides when we compare. It cannot work offline. Server dependent. You should have a server capable of based on your connectivity requirements, and load. You have to consider how many people are connecting, how many devices are connecting. So you have to have according to your connectivity requirement, according to your load, you should have a capable server and resources on the server. Network dependency is also there, especially when you use if disturbances are there, the signal R connectivity will get disturbed. It will try to reload, and it will if it is trying and not succeeding for, let's say, 3 times, 5 times, it will ask you to reload. So it gives a little annoying user interface, user experience for reloading the content again and again if the network connectivity is getting affected frequently in between. If it is on a slower networks, you will have a higher latency and slower application and performance. Dependency on Signal R. The last one, if you are using the hosting model, server hosting model, you don't have the option of progressive web app option, because it's run on the server. You cannot just install it on your browser. You need the server, so there is no concept linked with the server hosting model and PWA. So PWA concept or PWA functionality or option is not available when you use the server hosting model. So this is what we have to cover, and we will have a very basic demo. We are, we don't go through the, in-depth demos at this time. It's an introductory session. We will just quickly go through an introductory demo just to understand how it is and what it feels like. That is all the purpose of today's demo. We will have hands-on demo in the forthcoming, sessions. We will we will hands-on. We will develop the crude application hands-on. We will develop the interactive chat application hands-on by using SignalR and Blazor in the coming future sessions. Before we enter into the demo, is there any questions?
Yes, there was one question about how expensive is the server-hosted module on Azure for a multi-tenant application.
Actually, this needs to be answered based on the requirements. And I'll tell you, when you host server hosting model on Azure, you have to select the SignalR feature. So it gives, let's say, again, how expensive it is. It's totally based on what actually what do you say, resource consuming requirement is yours. Yeah, but basically you have to not only, unlike for the normal hostings, you will have to select mandatorily the SignalR option for your hosting on Azure. So it will be a bit expensive than normal web hostings.
There are a couple of more questions. I'm not sure. You want to cover the questions now, or should we do the demo
let's say,
quickly?
at the end maybe, because when we cover the demo, maybe the questions might have got answered. I think.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the demo. We have still a bit of time, and also we didn't start sharp on the clock, so should be fine. But let's also make sure that we can also try and cover the questions after the demo, and we can stick around for some time as well. Just for those of you who have other things to do, maybe you can send us the questions in the chat if you need to leave at 4 o'clock sharp, at least in my time.
Yeah, we have already reached 1 hour, right? Almost we are reaching to 1 hour.
Yeah, and it's a very popular session. I see lots of attendance and lots of questions. So I think we will be having, as you said, more in-depth demos. So I don't want to, take more time from here. Let's go straight to the demo.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen now, or?
Well, okay. I'm still on the presentation screen. I'm not sure.
Okay, just a minute. Let me change this one. 1 minute.
Yes, Ahmed, to answer your question.
Yeah, is it okay now? Can you see my screen?
Not yet. It came and then it got disconnected again.
Okay, just a minute.
Ahmed, the recording will be on our YouTube channel. I'm just gonna give you the link there in the chat. Yep, now we see your
you can see now, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just quickly create a new project by using, Blazor. So when we use, let's say, Blazor, we will have, so as we discussed, we have Blazor server app or Blazor WebAssembly app. Initially, before .NET 5, when we were starting with the Blazor, with .NET ASP.NET Core 3, it was one single project template. And when we move ahead, it was giving us an option to select either server app or WebAssembly app. From .NET 5, it gives from the beginning you select Blazor server app or Blazor WebAssembly app. So I'll just select WebAssembly app for the first. I mean, as per the for the first demo. So let's go ahead and web application 2, the name of the application. I'll just create here. You can select which .NET target framework which you have to use. .NET 5 I select. Authentication type, this one I'm not using it. Later on you can say Microsoft Identity Platform if you want. We can use that one. That itself actually we can we will have to demo for one session, but that we are keeping for the next sessions later on. And we have ASP.NET Core hosted, because even you are using WebAssembly, you can there will be you can select an option. There will be 2 projects. One project on the server for any APIs, web APIs and all. If you want, you can keep it and you can use that server for API purpose, and you can use that server for distributing your web app WebAssembly part. So you can do that, but we are not opting it. Normally when you use WebAssembly, you don't have to go for it. And here it is the PWA, the progressive web app function. So option. So I'm using it. So let's create it. I think I will have to reshare it for you to see.
Yep, the screen is gone.
Yeah, it's visible now, right?
Yep, it is visible.
Okay, we'll just quickly run first. What is the default implementation gives us? Oh, again, I will have to share. Are you able to see? Hello?
I see your screen, but I don't see an activity.
Oh, really?
Because are you loading
when it opened
anything?
on the browser? Just a minute. Again, I have to. Okay, the browser I have to share with you. Okay. This is how now you are seeing, right?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Browser
Now,
hello world.
I think I can share the. I can't share the desktop. The whole desktop. Any idea, Hussam?
Well, I mean, it depends. There is the way to share a screen, and then there is the window, and then in window you click on that.
Yeah,
if
in
you
window
want.
it does not show the. Just a minute. Quickly.
That browser is not showing.
Maybe the whole screen. Okay. Now you are able to see, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Browser.
So see, this is the default application provided by Microsoft as a project template, which we can utilize as a starting point. See here, let's say the counter. This is not okay. Now, see, if I click, it increment 5 on each clicks. I just have changed it. I think I have run on the wrong one. Just a minute. Web application 1 I ran. Actually, we have to run on the second one. Okay. Okay, here we have the counter, for example. see when I click, the counter increments by 1. So when I click, it actually happens on the browser. Nothing goes to the server. Even here, everything is on the on my laptop only. But still, it actually happens everything on the browser itself. And it's not at all connecting to the server. Nothing rendered on the server. Nothing is downloaded from the server. Once it is downloaded, the application is downloaded in the beginning. This is an option. And what about fetching data? This is an example on fetching the weather information from a public API. In the as a first step in the next demo, in the next session, we will be doing a generic, let's say, a flight status API. We will be hands-on developing an application, a Blazor application, to download the flight information from the public API. So that can be done. Now, before we go into that, this is a Blazor component. The modular capability option of Blazor allows you just to reuse your components wherever you want. For example, we will just add this counterpart into the fetch data part. As just to reuse that component, just to show you how to reuse that component wherever you want. So I'll just close it now, and I will open the solution explorer, and on the pages I will take these are the 3 pages which we have: the index page, the home page, and the counter page, and the fetch data. I'll show you what is there in the counter. The one which we show is the result of this, let's say, 7-8 line of code. And this is the HTML part of it, and CSS, let's say, and this is the C# code of that. And here you can see we are declaring a private integer variable named as counter count, and we are putting the value as 0. And we are putting here a button, and the button is, let's say, the primary. I'll just change it to success, just to understand how it is the bootstrap class, how it is affecting, and how easily you can change the UI and the look and feel of the the UI. And on click, we are instructing the browser to run this one on the click of the button. And this function is just counter current count to increment by 1. I'll just change it to, let's say, increment by 10. So let's see how it's going. And before that, we have made this change. And on the let's say the fetch data page, here also we are getting the data from the forecast service, which is there, inbuilt on this one. We are not going into that details. We'll look into it when we demo the the API and how to call the web API. It is from this is the result of the dependency injection. So the dependency injection, it is not only provide this HTTP client, but it provides with the data features and wrap it and provide you as a total. So that is the beauty of it. We don't have time to go into the details. We'll be doing it later on. Now here, this is the the fetch data part. What we will do after the weather forecast title, I'll do one thing. I'll say, okay, I'll do a break, and I'll do another break. Sorry. And before that, we will do one, let's say, see this one, counter. Done. So we are utilizing that counter component here. Whatever you make whatever you do the change, it will be applicable here also. Wherever you use it, it will be affecting there everywhere. And then again, everything on the client side. Now let's see, we have made one change that, like, we have increment, that the increment we changed into 10, and we brought that counter here into the weather forecast fetch data example. Okay. Here, let's say the counter is the button has been changed because we changed the class of the button. It was primary and we changed it to the success. So it changed the look and feel of the button. And when we click, see, it was 1 incrementing 1. Now it is incrementing 10. Each one happens here. Now let's see the fetch data. See, now here we have that counter component here totally as a whole, and whatever you have made changes, not on runtime, the data related, but as a component, it gives you, you can place an instance of that component wherever you like, and it has the full functionality of what you have done. I'll just quickly do one more thing. Um, yeah, this is also covered, and I'll do one thing. We'll quickly go through the server hosting model. So I mean, conceptually it will be the same, but let's just quickly go through how it is going to be when we do that. So I'll create a new project. I will use the this one, let's say Blazor. And let's say Blazor server app. Here you can see there is no PWA option. There is only the in the same directory, put the solution and project in the same. That's all we have. Okay, let's see quickly. Configure HTTP. Even we have the Docker capability also. That is also an important, interesting feature. The containerization is possible. You can make your application, put it into a container and put the Docker and create how many instances you want, and it will work independently from the Docker or from the container. So that is also very important. Thanks for Microsoft providing us this containerization option. So it's very, very useful. Okay, here, the output will be similar when we run it. I'll just run it and keep it for some time. Then we will understand later on, because, in the normal web application, we have session concept. Not actually that session concept, but if it is a server hosted application, it continuously pinging to the server. And if you are not using for a long time, it actually discard the connection, because to save the server resources consumptions. So what happens if you are not using the application for, let's say, 5 minutes or more or whatever, you are losing the connectivity, and whenever you come back, you will have to reload. So I'll just show this is a disadvantage of server hosting model. But when you use WebAssembly, you don't have to, if you keep it for an year, it will be staying there, and you can just come back and continue where you had left before. So this is the server hosting model. I'll quickly run this, and we'll go back to the WebAssembly model, and we'll quickly show the PWA option, the progressive web application option. So this is in function. It is same. It gives you, but actually this is a SignalR connectivity and rendered on the server, and it is showing a replica or an exact UI rendered on the server, transferred through SignalR. We will keep it like here. For example, we'll keep it here. Okay, and later on we will come back and see what happens. In the meanwhile, we will go back to the WebAssembly application which we were doing, and we will just run it, and I'll show you the PWA option also. That will be will be stopping there. That will be enough for the introductory session. Quickly, just a minute. Okay, here once we load, you can see here, install web application 2. If you install it, let's see, I'll install it. application to by using your icon, whatever you have, you can just install it. See, now the application changed into a native Windows application frame model. It no more it will run on browser. It will give you a feeling of a local application on your server. Sorry, on your machine. Even it installs the link on your desktop. So if you close this, let's say, and if you open it again, it opens like an application, and you don't have the browser window and the other details. And here we have whatever we were doing, it is available there. Let's go back to the the other model. As it is running from my machine, it does not affect. But if you are running from the from the server, and based on the configuration of the resource consumption and distribution configuration, it may affect if you keep the application idle for long time, because the server has to do. You have to do that, because if you are keeping that signal or connectivity, a client just connected and he just minimized, and he's not using this application at all for, let's say, 24 hours or 1 week, and if you are keeping your connectivity to that client continuously, you are unnecessarily wasting your resources on the server. So you have to do that, but when you implement it, will not give you a real connected feeling always. So that is the disadvantage. At the same time, WebAssembly will be completely and independently running on your browser until and unless you close your browser, or until and unless you close the PWA, you are having the same data or same page where you left behind before. That's all for this introductory session, and let's go back to the QA part.
Thank you, Anwar, for today's session. On behalf of the members, I saw lots of comments thanking you for this topic, and looking forward for more sessions in the future. Let me pull from the earlier questions that were so Omar was asking if you could expand a little bit on how the progressive web apps is not possible with the server hosting module, and if it is not possible to interact with the browser API, he's asking, is there is no possibility to interact with the browser API to get, let's say, storage and location information?
Yeah, actually, see, first of all, I think it must be clear now why you are not able to utilize the PWA option when it is a server hosting model, because nothing is there on the client side, nothing is there on the PC or laptop or mobile or whatever, because everything resides on the server. So you are not able to, the PWA concept itself is, everything you will be downloaded and installed on the machine. So until and unless the server is available, server is running, you can't use a server hosting model Blazor app. So conceptually, there is no PWA concept for a server hosting model variant. That's why. Now, I think the second part of the question is related to the data storage and all. If you use SQLite and local storage option, of course you can code your application to use local storages. Then you don't have to have the connectivity at all for the data retrieval or update purposes, because you are using a local data storage. But if your data is stored on a web hosted or Azure hosted database, SQL Azure, or even in the file based database, no SQL options, If it is there on the web or on the cloud, of course, you are dependent on the connectivity and you can't use your application offline. When we say the application can be used offline, we are saying like, the application wise, you don't need the server, you don't need the connectivity. But if your data is residing on the cloud or somewhere, then of course you need.
I saw also some requests for future sessions on advanced data binding and API data validation. So maybe we can cover that in the future. And there are also some requests on the like UI parts, some libraries and all. There is a question on Azure Signal R. The question is, do we need to use it when this application is deployed?
Yeah, of course. If you are deploying your application on Azure, because I have tried it to deploy the server hosting model into Azure without SignalR, but believe me, the performance and the connectivity is terrible. So if you are hosting your Blazor application with a server hosting model on Azure or wherever, anywhere else, you have to enable the SignalR functionality, because that is the core concept of linking the client browser and the server rendered content.
Awesome. So I remember you recommended one Learn module for the community members to take after the session so that they can continue the journey. And speaking of Signal R, I also linked to one of the past sessions that we have done in the Reactor around this topic. So we can discuss more topics, of course, in the future. I'll be keen to get these topics up and ready on the community calendar. So for everyone, I think that's all for today. For everyone, today's session was recorded and it will be available shortly on our YouTube channel. I provided the link to the YouTube channel in the meeting chat, and that's pretty much it. Make sure that you are subscribed or you're part of the Meetup community as well to receive all updates around the coming sessions. Thank you, Anwar, for joining us and for sharing this valuable information with our community members.
Welcome. Thank you.
And looking forward to have you again. Also, we'll discuss that together. We'll set time and dates for the future ones. And thanks everyone for joining us and providing this feedback.
And provide your feedback also. So yeah, please.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of the interesting sessions we have in the series. I see lots of asks for the future ones. So yeah, make sure that you don't miss any of the future sessions, and take care, everyone.
Yeah,
we'll catch you in the next one.
If possible, as per let's say we have to discuss with Hussam and arrange it. But we are planning, of course, API and data-driven experience. Examples and crude options and the SignalR implementation for the live connected apps.
Awesome. These are all exciting topics. We tried to cover, I think, the basics for today, and there will be more coming, like advanced and in-depth topics around this. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in the future sessions. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.